Hey, what's up? It's Annika, and in this video I will be going over exactly how much I spent on moving. So if you have been following me, then you know that I actually moved back home to Oregon from Orlando, Florida, where I was living and working for Disney and going to Disney all the time, especially in like pre-pandemic times. Am I lopsided? I think that's a little better. Okay, anyway. Long story short, I had been living in Orlando for about a year and a half, or over a year and a half actually, and had lived in a house, and then I lived in an apartment, so I had a lot of stuff that kind of accumulated, and I decided to move back home, and you can kind of like watch my other videos on that if you want more details. But in this video I'll be covering everything that I spent on moving, like everything. Like I have it all included in here. So thankfully for my cross-country road trip, my dad actually joined me, and he did cover things like gas and things like dinners some nights, but I will say that I paid for a majority of it. And I'll run through like the lowdown of exactly how much we spent on everything. But I also want to preface this video by saying there are many different routes that we could have gone. We could have gone like very cheap. We could have stayed in like Motel 6s and like not got Dunkin' Donuts every morning, but like that's just not what we wanted to do. So we did kind of splurge on some things, which is where I'll like specify also like, hey, like we also spent more on this than maybe you might want to if you're watching this, if you are planning on moving, or you kind of just want to get like a feel of what it would mean and what it would take. But yeah, so we went into the mindset of like, we don't want to limit ourselves, and I had saved up money for when my apartment lease was up in December, so I knew I would have to set aside money to either put money down on like renting another house or another apartment. You know, you got your security deposit, your first and sometimes your last month rent is due when you sign the lease and all that good stuff. So I didn't know exactly what I was gonna do, so I had money set aside for that. So instead of doing that and continuing to live in Florida, I threw all that money at moving. So yeah, we'll get down into it. But before we get started, if you are not already, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have been following me, you know that I'm on a debt journey of my own. So maybe you're watching this for like financial insight on moving and what it would take and what I did and how I budgeted and whatnot. But if you are interested in following along on my debt journey, please make sure to check out my other debt journey videos. I have like budget with me's, and I'm gonna do plenty more. And my next video will be very exciting debt payoff update. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I have like noted down everything that we spent on like what we spent it on and like categories of stuff. So basically we took a full 10 days to drive across the country to drive my car and all of my stuff from Orlando, Florida to Portland, Oregon. So we could have taken like 6 days or whatever, I think, if we were just driving straight through, but we did make a couple pit stops and we were just taking our sweet time. And because we were towing a U-Haul trailer on my car, we had to drive slower. I think on the trailer itself it says like you can't exceed 55 miles an hour, which is slow, you guys. But especially when we were on interstates where the speed limit was like 80, it was like, all right, thanks for passing us, everyone. How you doing? Like, we're just over here like la 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 la, but like we couldn't go any faster, so whatever. But it was honestly relaxing, so keep that in mind. So pre-moving, I had to put in a lot of work. So when I made the decision to move, I went to Lowe's. I picked up some boxes, tape, and stuff like that, and also like garbage bags, because I don't like packing all my stuff in boxes. I think just throwing stuff in garbage bags is easier and it makes things like nicer to pack, because then you can just like squish stuff, although having boxes is like nice too. But anyways, I went to Lowe's and I got like 4 boxes maybe just for like my kitchen stuff, and tape and Sharpies and all of that, and that cost $71.42. I had to get a hitch put on my car to be able to tow a trailer. I didn't already have one, but my car was like a mini SUV, so it's like it would be good for towing a trailer, so I ended up having to put a hitch on it for that, and that cost me at U-Haul, because I just like, I've gotten a hitch from them before and I like trust them. That hitch that I got cost me $441.24. A little painful. Then the actual U-Haul trailer itself, I think there wasn't like a set number of days. It wasn't like a per day price. I think it was just like a maximum of 10 days. And so that's kind of what we based our trip off of. We have to get the U-Haul into Oregon by a certain date. So that was pretty much setting the trip, and it was like one cost. So that cost $482.57, and I got a 5-foot by 8-foot trailer, and it like just fit all of my stuff. But yeah, and then a couple just extra things, like my U-Haul lock that I got for the actual trailer was $10.60. Changing my address in the USPS online, that cost $1.05. And then this is just extra because I was getting HelloFresh a lot this year. It's like a meal service where you can like order prepped recipes and ingredients, and they'll send it to you and then you cook it at home. It's pretty pricey, but I actually really liked the meals and it got me cooking. But I forgot to cancel my box for right after I moved. And so I was charged for it, and the box was going to be delivered anyway while I was already gone. So I ended up having a friend go pick it up for me and like just gave it to them. But that cost me $61.93. So lovely. I didn't even get to eat it, but whatever. It was just, I was taking L's and I just didn't even care. But in total, pre-moving, I spent $1,068.81. But if I didn't pay for the HelloFresh, it would have been $1,006.88. So about $1,000 to just get like prepped to move because of the U-Haul situation and the hitch situation. Obviously I could have maybe gotten rid of a ton of stuff, but like I would have had to get rid of a lot and then just like jam-packed my car. I just didn't want to do that, and I wanted my dad to drive with me, and there wouldn't have been space for like our stuff that we needed on the daily, like on the trip. Yeah, so that's the route I took, and that's how much I spent. So then we started our 10-day road trip, and like I said, my dad and I kind of split certain costs, but for me, out of my pocket, I paid for like all of our breakfasts and our lunches, which like I said, we were getting Dunkin' Donuts like every morning, and that was just like how we started our day. Like I loved getting my pumpkin iced coffee, and that just like made me really happy. So I was not going to cut that out and I didn't want to have to worry about like, I don't want to spend this much on breakfast, because like I had the fun set aside. So I was like, you know what, I want Dunkin', so we're getting it every day. So yeah, so I spent about $249.26 on food from out of my pocket for the two of us for about our breakfast and lunches every day. So that was about like $15 a meal for two people. And then our hotels, I booked almost every single night. I think my dad booked one on our trip, but I would usually book them through either hotels.com, or by the end of the trip I became a Hilton Honors member and I would just book it through the app. When we got to a town where we were like, all right, let's call it a night. So I spent $804.26 total for hotels, minus like one night. So what is that, like 8 nights, something like that. So it was about $80 to $100 a night. And granted, we were staying in like Hilton Garden Inns and like Best Westerns, Comfort Inns, things like that, and they weren't like the cheapest things around. They also weren't the most expensive, but we decided that like it was okay if we spent a little bit more on hotels because they'd be clean. They sometimes had like breakfast grab and go bags that we could just take with us and have snacks with us on the road, and that was great. And we knew it was a safe place to park the car and the trailer and not have to worry about it, and solid Wi-Fi, and it's just like things like that. Like I did not mind splurging more on the hotels, knowing that we would have like all of that set up for us. And it was so interesting, in so many of these like weird towns, the hotels were either like 40 bucks a night for like a Motel 6 that was very scary looking, or they were like 120 bucks a night, and then it was still like 40 bucks for parking. So it's like, okay, so these were like cheap for what we got in some cases, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, for things like extra things like drinks, like in New Orleans I got like a hand grenade on Bourbon Street, and for parking we stopped at the Salt Lake City, in the Salt Lake. There was like a little park that you could like pull off to, but you had to pay for parking, and just like parking in New Orleans and things like that, and especially with a trailer, like it was hard to find parking sometimes. But all of the extra things like that I spent $80.14 on, so coming to a whopping total of $1,133.66 from out of my pocket for just the like road trip portion. And for my dad, he had to fly from Portland to meet me in Orlando. So he had to buy a flight. So that was about, I think, $299. And he gave me just like a bunch of estimates. And for meals, he paid for a lot of our dinners. So our dinners, we tended to splurge on, and we would get drinks and just things like that. So he spent $551 for our 10-day trip on our more like lavish meals and things like that. And then his hotel, he had to stay in a hotel the day he flew in because we weren't leaving until the next morning. And then he paid for our hotel, I think like the first night. So he spent about $200 on hotels. And then gas, he paid for gas the entire trip except for the first tank that I had already filled up in my car when I picked him up and we started our trip. So he spent $443.25, which was about $2.10 a gallon. It varied and really didn't go much higher than that. And we were having to fill up like quite a few times a day because we were towing and getting so much mileage like throughout the day, obviously on a road trip. But total out of both of our pockets for just the 10-day road trip was $2,626.91. So our grand total of everything we spent, including my pre-moving, my U-Haul crap, everything I spent out of my pocket and everything my dad spent out of his pocket, we spent $3,695.72. That's a lot of money. Like I said, like we were trying to have fun with it. Like I've been wanting to do a cross-country road trip for so long, like so long. And of course this wasn't ideal times because of the pandemic and the way the economy is and just like insert XYZ, but it was more of like a, this is a once in a lifetime situation, and I don't know the next time I'll be able to just drop everything, take 2 weeks off of work and drive across the country with my dad. And you know, so we both kind of took it from that perspective. I had the funds set aside because I was prepared to move, not across the country, but like move in general in Orlando. So I wasn't too stressed about it, and thankfully my dad was there to drive with me and keep me company and all of that. So keeping in mind that like all the food that we were buying was for 2 people, whereas if I was just driving by myself and doing this like the cheapo route, I'd be staying in like cheap hotels, you know, not getting Dunkin' every morning probably, and like eating oatmeal packets for dinner. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we were really thankful that we could do that together, and it was so much fun. We had such an amazing trip. We made some great stops in New Orleans, Memphis, Nashville, Tennessee. We went to St. Louis. We said hello to the Arch. We passed through Kansas City. We went through Colorado and then Salt Lake, and then it was just onward from there pretty much to Portland. So it was a great time, and we did everything we wanted to do. Take this with a grain of salt. Like, this is just my experience. I'm not telling you need to spend this much when you move. You might want to spend less, you might want to spend more. That's obviously up to you and your situation, but that is just what I decided to do. Now, there were definitely different routes that we could have taken, literally geographically the different driving routes we could have taken, but we also could have done like, I could have done like a pod, I think moving pods. Instead of towing the U-Haul, we could have, I think Pods does like where you pack it and then they like ship it and send it, but I think that would have been even more expensive, like probably like $1,000 or something, whereas like I spent under that to just take it all with me and do things on my schedule kind of thing. But then we wouldn't have been towing, so it's like you have to weigh the pros and cons of all your options. And to be honest, I had already had experience getting hitched on my car, had experience picking up a U-Haul trailer and driving with it, because when I moved from college in Southern California home to Portland, Oregon, I drove with all of my crap. Same situation, and obviously a much smaller distance, but I already knew the process of that and I was used to that, so that's what I felt comfortable doing. That pretty much covers it. It sounds like a lot of money, but like think of it as 10 days of moving and I moved my whole life. But yeah, so I'm just super thankful that we could do that, especially during this time, and I'm so excited to be home. And be sure to check out my road trip vlogs that I did of me and my dad and our stops. Those were so fun to film, and it was so funny, like my dad got into it. Every morning I'd be like, hold on, we gotta update the vlog, and he'd be like, oh right, of course. That's pretty much all the details. I don't know, that's what I did, that's how much I spent. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for my next budget, or not budget, but like my debt payoff journey update video. Oh, so excited. Yeah, that's it. All right, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.